Sometimes I just get sleep paralysis. I get it pretty often, like a couple times a month. So like just yeah, just going to sleep, wake up maybe randomly in the middle of the night, or if it's I'm just about to get up any point or anything, just like wake up and I can see my surroundings. Um, but like I just can't move and I can't talk. I could only like sort of have like the sound from my chest. It's almost like you know how you have an epiglottis and it's supposed to like open and close the flap depending on, breathing or talking or whatever or whatnot. Mine like won't open, so it's just like and I'm just like like grunting without opening my mouth or anything. And I just sort of do that for some time, and I used to have methods to get out of it, but as I've kept on using them, I think I've become like more tolerant to them, which used to be like breathing in really deeply, like in and out really deeply.
What's your first, or what? I guess what's one of your first like memories of experiencing this? One of your first talks, if you don't mind sharing.
No, that's okay. Honestly, I can't really remember. It's
But it
probably
was
like
scary. You just kind of had to sit through it, I imagine, or
mm,
lie through it, I suppose.
yeah.
Okay. Um, and then like what are one of the methods that you used to use, you still use, but like, you said that it's kind of lost potency, it seems, over time.
Yeah.
What are one of those methods that you would?
Yeah, just breathing in and out. I made an assumption that if I breathed in and out, because it's just at that point my body and my mind aren't like locked into each other, because your body like paralyzes itself in the midst of the night so that you don't start sleepwalking. So at a certain point, my mind is awake, but like my body is still in its paralysis state. So I was like, if I breathe in deeply in and out, I could get more oxygen to the brain, and maybe that could get like some neurons or whatever to start sparking to like be like, okay, you're awake now, you can move. So that's how I thought about it. It used to work, but now it's lost its potency. And then also like attempting to scream as loudly as possible, but like with my mouth shut. Um, and that used to like almost jolt me off like to movement, but it does not work at all anymore. And I get it multiple times in a row. So that's annoying. It's like I'm trying to move, I'm trying to get out of it, and eventually I do. And then immediately when I'm turning down to lie again, or maybe I'm in the same position or whatever, I get it again within like 20 seconds. And then it could happen multiple times. So, like, I could get it like 6 times over just in the span of like a couple minutes.
Seems really scary.
Yeah, I hate it. It's reached the point where it's not even scary anymore. I just get annoyed. Yeah, it just makes me angry at a certain point. So it just happens, and I don't even care to be scared. I'm just over it.
Think you bring up an interesting point about because that's the thing with Pluto, right? It I feel, it shows up in these ways where you know, it's psychologically potentially terrifying when it first starts, but then at a point you get to start to see like, I guess the crack, in the veneer, and you're like, oh, you're actually not scary, but what the hell is this thing? I still don't want this. Like, what is this? So it's like, even though it's weird, it's like the fear is how it hooks, is how it kind of gets a hold. of someone, I think. But then when the fear goes, it's like, oh, I've been duped.
Yeah.
This wasn't scary in the first place, but I'm here now.
That's actually what I do to get out of things that I'm afraid of. I just try to trivialize it as much as possible. So, like, I used to be afraid of the dark, but then I'm like, technically, like, when I'm asleep and it's dark, nothing happens. Or like when whenever your foot's outside of the blanket so you feel like a monster can get you from underneath your bed. I'm like, my foot's been out for a while. The only reason why I feel scared is because I know that my foot is out now while it's dark. But I didn't think about that literally 20 seconds ago. So something should have already happened. And then with the sleep paralysis, I'm like, well, it's not like I see anything. I just see my surroundings. I can see, like, it's day out right now, which means that right now people are just like walking down the street and it's like, it's fine. Or like, even if it's dark, I'm like, I see a shadow right now, but I know that that shadow is my desk chair. And I just trivialize it as much as possible. And I'm like, yeah, it's like, it's just kind of funny, or it's like not even funny because it's just not funny anymore, but it's like, yeah, there's nothing really going on. It is dumb. It's just
No, I appreciate what you were sharing about awareness. Like that really is what it is, though. Like what you're saying about the foot being out, like 20 seconds ago was the same situation. Only difference is that now I'm thinking about it like, oh, I'm aware of this all of a sudden. I'm awake to the fact that my foot is out. But then there's this thought about being awake to the physical, the mundane. It's trivial because it is physical. I feel like the physical a lot of the times is trivial, you know, because the body's the machine, the body's the robot. Matter is matter. And the way we interact with it, let's say the matter being the body, I, the soul, being the one who's interacting with it, it just is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm the one who makes meaning of it, you know? So that's the thing that's so scary about it. The meaning that maybe I gave to it. I was listening to a video. I don't know if this is legit. I hope it is. Ugh, fake news. Joking. So, this person was saying how, like, I guess he said, like, the part of the brain that part of the brain that feels gratitude is the same part of the brain that feels anxiety. You know, random video on YouTube. I need to actually properly look it up. But honestly, I don't, because I appreciated that. It just made sense to me somehow. And I feel like it gave me this feeling about emotional control, you know. Um, if I'm not feeling anxious, I'm feeling gratitude. If I'm not feeling gratitude, I'm feeling anxiety. And I liked that because it's like I could just remind myself throughout the day, like, oh, gotta feel grateful, you know. And so I remind myself of things that I love, I like, and it's feeling a little bit easier to feel that way. Like now it's feeling more like a feeling that's coming up rather than a thought. One more tangent. And as you were speaking, there was this thought about werewolves, you know, because they're like turned by the moon. But it's just a state of awareness, no? Because, you know, I was born on a full moon. So it's like people say, you know, if you're born on a full moon, you're a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But there's just this feeling about transformation and awareness and how you can just flip on a dime, you know, between one or the other, but it just depends on what you want to do, you know?
it is actually interesting what you just said about the full moon, because like it is also just like the moon is technically always full. It's just a shadow that's like blocking it. It's always there. It's just like what we see right now. It's like it's like how people are like, "Oh, the sun comes up every day." No, the planet's just spinning. The sun stays in the same place. It's like it just so happens that right now in Australia, the sun is non-existent because it's up here or something, you know? Like it's just like it's always there. It's just perception where you are and your awareness to it.
I'm having thoughts about your Mars square Pluto. I'm wondering about your experience with I guess actions as a child. Like now, because of everything we're talking about, I'm wondering if someone who has Mars square Pluto could feel as a kid easily spooked by certain actions taken by people around them, or maybe even scared about one's own actions or lack of action. So I'm kind of wondering if that's, I don't know, if that's a vibe you connect with, or if not, there's just this kind of thought about Pluto fear and then kids.
Technically, I don't think my fear was with like physical actions, but it was with like non physical action, like yelling or something. Like, I mean, I feel like that's technically an action, is it not? Like the act of yelling or the something that you're doing, I guess. Okay. So I was afraid of stuff like yelling. I didn't like whenever people bit their nails. I hated whenever people bit their nails for some reason. I absolutely despise whenever people crunch their water bottles. It genuinely, I can, it tingles my ears in a bad way. And ugh. Um, so like there were just some actions that like icked me out or irked me out. But like other than that,
There's this feeling that it's like I get absorbed in myself. I get so afraid. It's like I want to protect myself. And there was something else too, but I've just lost it. But one of the emotions is that I want to protect myself. And so I get absorbed in myself. And I'm thinking so much about myself kind of unconsciously that I'm not able to be in two places at once. I'm not able to deeply listen to what you're sharing so I can feel and protect myself by being not even present in my body, but hyper alert because and so I would feel myself kind of pulling away a little bit and getting more absorbed in what you were sharing. And that's what I wanted. There was this fear and desire to protect myself, so I shrink back. So that's what I think I'm experiencing. But that's the thing that I want to overcome. Beauty and the Beast. There's the beautiful aspect that we both shared about, but now all of a sudden we're aware of the beast. We have to battle the beast.
awareness. Uh, it's just sometimes it feels like it's just a dance yet again. Like our artist artistic abilities, and it's like it's a dance between two partners, and one partner, I don't want to say doesn't have trust in the other one, but like if we're supposed to be dancing like a ballet or whatever, and you're supposed to lift me or whatever or whatnot, I don't know why I'm afraid to be like lifted, or like maybe we're supposed to do a two-step and you have to grab my hand and then put another one around my waist. I don't know why I'm afraid of you touching me. I don't know why. This is supposed to be like a partnership where like it's a nice dance between two people, and like I can't just do the whole dance which is supposed to be a duet by myself. And I just like won't allow this to be a duet for some reason because I'm stuck in my own dance moves and stuff like that, and I'm so out of it that I don't even want you to touch me at this point. And it's just
Two thoughts. There's the feeling that if I want to get over like the absence of judgment in the mean kind of way, the kind of critical way. The absence of judgment is constant forgiveness. I'm aware of my faults. I don't have to go into that. The absence of that kind of criticism is constant forgiveness. I'm thinking the shadow side of Mercury and the beautiful side of Jupiter. Constant forgiveness, abundance. And if I can just give that to myself, grace, grace, give me grace, giving myself grace when I'm having these conversations and I'm slipping. Because what you said made me feel about just what you said. You were saying that it's like we're these artists, but it's like, yeah, a bit of a fall from grace is how we see ourselves as these artists who have become kind of trapped in our own name and form. These actors on the stage, or dancers. But I just constantly forgive myself to be light about it. You know, the medicine of Sagittarius, of Jupiter, light and laughter. Um, I can move forward. I can that to myself instead of kicking myself for being an artist who can't perform in a way. Just to be light and sweet and cordial with myself. Give myself that grace. Yeah, we're artists. We're artists who were finding it difficult to perform. Isn't that interesting? Your Mars is in Pisces. Mars is not comfortable there. Actions are about performing. It's a very beautiful sign, but Mars doesn't really tend to do so well there. My Mars is in Cancer. Cancer is a very beautiful sign in that kind of way, water sign, but Mars doesn't do so well in Cancer. And so there's this difficulty with performance, even though there's all of this beauty. There's so much beauty, but we're having difficulty being artists.
Yeah, I think just the thought about me performing is like, I guess, no, it's not. But sometimes I feel like it depends on like what it is I'm performing. Like sometimes I get too caught up in the performance to think about what I actually want to do. Like maybe I'm a dancer and I want to be like a comedian or something like that. I just feel like I get too caught up in what I think I'm supposed to do versus what I should do. I just, there's always a tug and pull there. Like, it's also the difference between who I am and how I express myself, and like what, like how I express myself and the way that I express it. There's just a tug and pull between those things every single time. They're very opposite of each other right now. And I just want to synchronize them, at least to myself. They feel very opposite of each other. Because, like, for example, like, I know myself subconsciously, at least. Like, I know what I want to do subconsciously, but I have difficulty thinking about it and getting a clear answer out and expressing that answer. There's just,
What do you mean? You know what you want to do? Like,
like you say, I know who I am. Like, the answers are all in there. But, like, why can't I think about it and, like, pull it out and have it right there as my answer? It's like 3 plus 1 equals, and it's like,
I think you think too much.
mm, yeah, I do.
But it's like a comfort place. I think that maybe it's a comfort place for you. And so you cling to thinking because it keeps you tell you cling to it for safety, It doesn't keep you safe. It does the opposite. I think that's, yeah. It's almost like what am I or who am I if I'm not thinking? Like, what else? Not what else is there, but who am I? Who am I without my thoughts? But it's like, I don't know, it just feels like this clinging to the. There was a video I was watching with someone, and he was saying how it was Jordan Peterson, was he? And I think he was quoting someone, and basically like my thoughts die, so I don't have to, you know, uh, like like when I separate my thoughts from myself, it's a very healthy thing to do because I can act things out in my thoughts that really wouldn't be beneficial to act out in my day to day life, whatever that is. I can act things out in my thoughts. I can think about what that would create and what this would create. Um, and then eventually, when that it's time, I can let that go again in my thoughts. And so my thoughts died, but I didn't have to die. Like if I had acted out whatever I put into my thoughts in my everyday waking life, maybe I would have blown up my life. Maybe I would have hurt someone. Maybe I would have this or that. But it's like my thoughts are this. It's weird. It's almost like not a clean, yeah, like a cleaning kind of mechanism in a way. I think almost maybe in the way that words are. Like when I was able to vocalize, oh my God, this is how I feel about this podcast right now. You really helped me move through it because you just listened. You gave space for my thoughts. I didn't, sorry, I could see the benefit of speaking then too. But either way, Mercury, the thinking and the words. Sorry, this is a bit of a tangent. I'm still trying to, but there's this feeling that there's a connection. But it feels like maybe there's just a clinking to the words, a clinging to the thoughts. Yeah, artists are supposed to just flow and be and express. It's not supposed to be a bunch of thinking in the machine, the mechanism, right?
Yeah, I think it's just gotten really ego filled lately for me. Well, ever since COVID. Yet again, it used to be flowy because I didn't have to think about it. It would just pop up for me. But now I think about it, and there's a lot of ego tied to me being able to think because that's another characteristic I have. I like, knowledge and stuff like that. And it just, yet again, I'm performing of me being smart because I don't think people will think I am, even though, yeah, in certain ways I am. But like, there's just a lot of ego in it. And I also think it's also partially because whenever I could think multiple scenarios in my head and it would have brought me to this point or to this point or to this conclusion. And, it's just a thought or whatever or whatnot. But part of me, I likes exploring in a way through vast things, even if it might be too much. And I also feel like it just feels like almost being prepared. Like, I don't know, thinking about those in my head, it feels like thoughts in my head, it feels like I'm strategizing. Like, even if this thing might not happen or anything or whatnot, I'm still strategizing because maybe another thing like it might happen. And because I've thought about it in this scenario, I could just apply it and maybe slightly change it to fit this scenario because I always feel like I'm getting the rug swept from underneath me in a way. Like, I've had anxiety about like and I don't feel the best about some aspects of my brain. Like I take ADHD medication because I get distracted. But nowadays, I've been thinking that it may be less of like a distraction thing and a more of like a processing thing. Sometimes I feel like I just don't process things quick enough. So sometimes I feel like things just like hit me and I'm slow to answer or I'm not able to compute what's said. And yet again, it's ego. It makes me feel like I'm stupid, but it also makes me feel like the rug has been pulled from underneath me. I wasn't prepared for it. Maybe if I planted one of my feet off of the rug, if it was swept from underneath me, I would be off balance for a bit, but I'd be able to plant my other foot. But I didn't think about that being an option.
Like so something that feels like it's totally out of your control. Like like you're a player in the game, but maybe you don't understand the rules of the game kind of thing.
Yeah, or the rules got changed, and I was just the last one to be made aware of it. And I just feel like, oh, like, I'm like the last one to know. Why am I the last one to know? Like, and now everybody else is playing by a new set of rules that I'm trying to catch up on, or I'm trying to make sense of. But my brain's so stuck in thinking in the old rules that it's like, it's just not computing. It's just not processing. I just feel behind or left.
Almost. Maybe it's a misuse of the thoughts and the words. Um, I think about karma actions, right? Um, you know, karma isn't only I say mean things that my enemy says mean things about someone, and so someone says mean things about me, right? That's kind of it's not just that. There are all sorts of ways that we misuse different energies that really are our power, our fuel source. You think about like a sword. It's a really awesome sword, but of course, things that are so valuable, they usually come with instructions for maintenance, for their care. So if the care for the specific sword is to make sure I rub coconut oil on the blade to keep it sharp, but I say coconut oil is kind of expensive, I make excuses, and instead I find something else. I say it's fine. If I just use a cloth to rub it, it'll still be okay. And then I go into battle and I expect the same level of performance with that sword. I can't have that because there's been a misuse of that power, right? Of that sword, that Shakti. And so I think that's also karma. If I'm, there's so many different ways to misuse knowledge, so many different ways to misuse our thoughts, the mind, which is where we have our thoughts. Am I keeping my mind clean? Um, am I fixated on a specific thing or person? Um, am I using my mind and my thoughts for my purpose? What I know to be at least part of my purpose. Maybe I don't have the whole thing figured out. Am I wasting my words? Like I've told you before, sometimes I go on tangents, which I don't need to do now. The more that I do these things that I know I shouldn't be doing, when I really stop and listen and try to be honest with myself, the more that I'm building up that karma of misusing. And so when I want, in this case, my thoughts to work well and properly and function very well, they don't, because I haven't been tending, taking care of them. So I'm thinking maybe it has to do with that. What does it look like to take care of my thoughts? You have Mercury conjunct Pluto, conjunct the moon. The moon and Mercury are both thoughts. Moon is more subconscious, habitual, everyday thoughts. So subconscious, but also everyday. Mercury is more analysis, processing. New information has come in. Now I'm assimilating that into my system. So it seems like thoughts have a lot to do with concentration and transformation for you because they're conjunct Pluto. And then that's squaring Mars in Pisces. So then there's how does the misuse of my thoughts contribute to feeling like the rug is being pulled from underneath me in my acts, my actions? Because that's very Pisces. It's here 1 second, it's gone the next. So, how is all of the way that I'm thinking? How has that become, I guess, the foundation, the seed of the dysfunction, misfunction of my actions?
When I was really young, knowledge wasn't just a thing I had, like random tidbits of knowledge that I had under my belt, which I feel like it has become lately. I was just genuinely curious and wanted to know about stuff and how to have a greater understanding.
But sorry, sorry, it's very beautiful you're sharing. Mm. But just a thought that Pluto, maybe Pluto is misfiring, asking yourself how Pluto is misfiring. Um, and the benefit of just keeping it simple. I am a soul. I am not this body. Simple as that. I am a soul. I'm not this body. I've played many parts. I'm a tiny, tiny point of light. And on, I guess, the hard drive, the awareness, and the awareness, even buried awareness of this soul, this tiny point of light, is births and births and births, multiple births, multiple lifetimes where different things happened. All of that is recorded in I, the soul, this tiny, tiny point of light. Even that's like, what? Like, what does that even mean? You know, this tiny point of light has this whole series of lifetimes, this entire script that it's been working with. Maybe I was this in one birth, I was that, this happened, that happened. All of that's recorded. And maybe that's where, that all of that can kind of confuse everything, right? That can seem like knowledge. But it's just simple. When I cut through, slice through all those lifetimes, the one thing that remains the same and has remained the same is that I'm a soul. I'm a tiny point of light. I'm not this body. Therefore, I'm not the actions I've performed. And I think, at least for me, that provides some sort of clarity. I don't have to be miserable. There is no misery for me. Why? I'm just a soul. I've had many births and lifetimes. I've made many choices. And I am a soul. I'm not the things I've done. I'm a soul. And I'm just a tiny, tiny, tiny point of light. I'm very simple and light. I am so, I am a point of light, a sparkling, shining, bright star in the center of this forehead. I belong. I am cherished. I am loved. I belong. The heart, um, the emotional heart, obviously the physical heart is at least in this region. And so we send a lot of our, I guess, heart emotions to this region to feel it here. But the heart isn't actually in the chest, the emotional feeling heart. It's actually in the soul. And the soul is just a tiny point of light that sits in the center of the forehead. So, how is it that we feel things down here? If the feelings, the emotions, even the thoughts, all of that is coming from this tiny point up here. We think about how people say, oh my God, butterflies in my stomach. That's a feeling, but it happened in your stomach. I got a gut feeling happen in your gut, you know? Um, and so we send emotions, messages all throughout the body, but they all really come from here. So I'm just saying that to say there are feelings and emotions everywhere. Personally, I also, yeah, just yeah, focus on that. Really, my thoughts and feelings come from here. You don't have to force yourself to experience them here all of a sudden, but remember that, and eventually, maybe you'll just naturally feel something in there. I find it when I feel really light, like, but it's like a really happy lightness. Um, I feel it here, that I can feel it moving throughout the body, that I can feel that it's strongest here. And that makes me feel aligned and total and like with my heart, you know? And it makes me feel like I'm not alone, like, like almost like I'm a companion, not even like a companion of myself. It just feels like I fit all of a sudden. It feels like this is my home and I'm seated in my home. Seated where a seed is in the ground and it's rooted. Feels like I'm seated or seated. And I feel good and safe and calm. So I think that's the benefit of experiencing things here over time, eventually, stuff like that. Makes me feel grounded. Instead of, like you were saying, floating, I feel grounded, even though I have a lot of Pisces energy. And I feel in control in a good way. I have a habit of wanting to control the outside, others, Virgo, Pluto. Sun's where Pluto moves. When I'm feeling grounded here, I feel in control of myself. I feel calm and I feel adequate and sure. And so in those moments, I don't even really want to connect with other people because I feel so connected to myself. Talk less of wanting to control them. So those are nice. I like it when I feel them. How do I feel?